Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest in exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Thanks for riding along with us here at Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. Now, everybody loves a pickup truck, and a lot of folks need them every day. But the problem is, if you want to buy a new truck, it's like $100 grand. So people are sticking with old trucks like this 2006 Ram. It's a great truck, Lenny, but it has a lot of old technology in it. And what's the problem with that?
Well, the older technology gives us slow spool up, right? Turbo boost is great when you're in the boost, but it's not so fun getting there sometimes. And then during that boost, you often see kind of what I like to call the school bus, where it takes off and then it leaves that little black cloud of smoke. And that black cloud of smoke isn't actually propelling the vehicle forward. It's just unwasted, unburnt energy, right?
So yeah, so you're wasting fuel right there.
Wasting fuel right there. And the drivability, you know, we all talk about how much horsepower we want, but what we're really wanting is we want instant throttle response. We want that really torquey feel off the bottom end. And the newer style trucks that are $100,000 have variable main turbochargers, bigger cubic inch motors. They've got higher injection with the injection systems, higher injection pressures. And with all of that stuff, they have that really snappy feel that these older trucks didn't have. Well, what we thought of was we wanted to get rid of the black smoke. We wanted to bring people something that was really torquey and snappy feeling. We at Dynomite Diesel decided to try this idea of a pilot hole inside of the injection nozzle. And a lot of the problem was the pressure. Like this common rail enjoys variable rail pressure, but mechanical trucks don't really enjoy that at all. So with mechanical trucks, like these older style injectors has a pump, a line, and then it goes to the injector. And in order to get these things to make any horsepower, they had to have a really large spray orifice. Large spray orifice means poor atomization unless you're shoving a lot of fuel at it to make a lot of pressure. So
with full throttle, you're great, but when you're easing into the throttle off the red light, it's a problem.
Yeah. So at wide open throttle, you're going to see really high needle travel and a lot of injection pressure hitting this injector. Atomizes very, very well. Well, with today's technology, abrasive flow machining, we've got our own EDM in-house so we can move and manipulate angles. We can also then put the pilot holes in, which we hold a patent on this.
Let's look at the anatomy of an injector from Dynomite Diesel here with the pilot hole. So show me what we're looking at here on the board.
Well, basically, I'm going to use my little injector here as my pointer because it's so cool. Now, we've got the general shape of a nozzle. We've got the general shape in blue of the needle valve. We've got arrows indicating in blue the needle valve's travel up and down. I've also drawn a red line right there for stop. That's where the seat is. Nothing leaks past the seat unless it's supposed to go past the seat. So with common rail, we've got a solenoid at the top of that, and the solenoid tells the injector when to start passing fluid and when to fire. So what happens is below this seat, this gets flooded with diesel fuel in the green. That starts to flood. You're going to get these two little tiny pilot holes to atomize fluid and spray out into the piston bowl. And then under higher pressure, when the needle starts to rise further, you're going to go back to the primary spray holes, bypassing the pilot holes.
Genius. So what are folks going to notice if they have injectors from Dynomite Diesel?
First off, we balance things within 2%. So every single injector in that set is going to be 98, 99, or 100% of what its target goal was. Others are going to be within 15 to 20%, maybe 18% is kind of a real target. So very smooth, very drivable feeling. The pilot hole technology, like on a cold morning where you would chronically see a bunch of idle haze and things like that, that idle haze is going to be just seconds, not minutes worth of it. The pilot hole technology, because it's so much more efficient at those low idle speeds like that, the tachometer is going to be very stable, your brakes are going to be more under control, and the steering wheel is going to fight you less in those really low speed situations, especially on a hot day in, say, a mall parking lot or coming out of the post office, getting onto the street. If you're in a situation where you see that, there's the truck coming up the road and you're thinking, man, I know that once I get up to speed, I've got enough horsepower to kind of run away from that guy, but do I have enough throttle response to get away from that guy right now? The answer is chronically going to be yes, because this is going to give you that off the bottom from 0 mile an hour to 25 mile an hour. It's going to be a very noticeable difference.
So none of that idle haze that you see in a lot of diesels. Better throttle response right off the bat. more efficient burning of the fuel, and none of that black soot. You can find all of this technology and how to get it at dynomitediesel.com. This stuff is incredible. We'll be right back with more great products for your vehicle here on Motorhead Garage, presented by dragonfiretools.com. Don't go away.
Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com, is brought to you by Amsoil, the first in synthetics, Shade Wagon, throw some shade, and by DragonFireTools.com, industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. You know, old truck restorations, more popular than ever, in particular the Chevrolet C10. We get a lot of folks writing us here at Motorhead Garage, and they want to know how they can get started doing a resto mod or a build. Well, we found this in our archives. We wanted to show it to you. Just take a look at the truck that came into our studio. What a vehicle we have here in the studio today. It's a classic Chevrolet C10, and if you're doing any kind of resto mod or classic build, your one-stop shop is going to be Vannatta Fabrication. Now, we could go through your website, Jason, but most of the stuff you have is on this truck. Tell me what you have on the front end.
The front end, we got the BNCO mesh grill insert. We've got the Mod Shop Metalworks roll pan that they modified just for us with the LED taillights, center duct, and then we got the front spoiler there on the bottom of the roll pan.
And it's a great looking vehicle. What inspired you to put that spoiler down on the bottom?
The race car look. I really want to just blend a race car with a truck and get that go fast look out of the build.
It's a familiar look from the late 60s. It kind of resembles another famous Chevrolet.
Yeah, it's actually modeled off a 67 Camaro spoiler.
Gotcha, that's why it looks great. Now let's talk about what you've done under the hood now. Even not just for looks on the outside, but we pop the hood and it's a great looking truck underneath. And tell me what kind of parts you've made here.
These are our underhood panels. These are typically aluminum just to keep the weight off the hood so you don't have all that weight on the gas struts. These are our inner fenders, two-piece. This is our core support filler panels and our radiator cover, and you can see here I've welded it all together and welded it to the hood latch.
And that's something that's easy to do because we see the parts raw and that's what they look like when you get them. How easy are those to actually put on the car?
These just drop in place, and this just basically drops in place too. Once you bolt it all together, this seems pretty tight. Just do a little bit of fitment and you can start tacking this together, then just take it off to finish it out. A lot of our customers leave them separate. A lot of our customers that maybe have a shop building their truck, they'll have them mold all this together. And then we have our 5-piece firewall kit back there. It's bead rolled to match the inner fenders, and we have our coil pack covers.
So what parts do you sell for the motor?
I'm a dealer for several different companies that we get accessories from. These are the Concept 1 accessories here in polished. They also have them in anodized black. I'm a dealer for Texas Speed. We've got the Texas Speed race heads. They provide the fast intake, the bigger cam. We use Texas Speed engine parts in all of our builds.
One thing's kind of wild under there, the master cylinder. Tell me about the brake system.
That's the Willwood dual reservoir master cylinder, and I swapped out the reservoirs for their billet aluminum units. Then we run their big brake kit on all of our builds.
Excellent. The wheels look great. What are those?
Those are the Forge lines. I'm a dealer for several wheel companies, but the Forge lines are just the perfect wheel for the look of this truck.
And here's a nice touch I really like, the logo that you put on the side. Tell me about that.
BNCO, they made the mesh grill for this truck. They also made my emblems. Those are billet aluminum.
Excellent. And you told me this is a pretty popular item, the mirrors on these.
Yeah, we've sold quite a few sets of these. These are 2015 to 2019 Mustang mirrors. We can get them with turn signals or without. And they're cut down and modified to bolt right onto your C10.
Now they look great, and the interior, it will really blow you away when you take a look inside this truck.
We got the TMI seats, door panels, headliner. I handmade the dash to fit in the Dakota Digital gauges because the ones I'm using are universal gauge.
And now the seats. Seats are incredible. Tell me what you've got there.
The TMI seats in a gunmetal in red.
They're great looking. How are they to sit in?
Very comfortable.
And the steering wheel?
Billet specialties.
So what else have you guys provided for the interior?
We've got our kick panels, our dash overlays, our double din panel, the center console, and glove box overlay are all parts that we make.
And when you're doing a resto mod, you want to put the modern conveniences in, hence the backup camera in the center.
Yes, this truck actually has a front camera and back camera to assist with parking.
Save your investment.
For sure.
Another thing that jumps out to me is the glass. I don't see any rubber seals. I don't see any chrome. What have you done?
This is the Fessler flush mount glass. It eliminates all that. The glass is oversized. It gives you that modern look of what you'd have on a newer vehicle. We use it on our classic builds and our resto mods and our pro touring trucks.
And if you're going to lower a truck, you're going to need the monster notches, but you need a way to hide that. You need to bring the bed up higher So what have you done to make that easier?
Yeah, we typically raise the bed floor about 8 inches to get over any notch or aftermarket chassis. Once we raise the bed floor up, we put in a square tubing structure. Then we start building all these sheet metal panels. We bead roll them for looks.
Now, if you're doing this at home, putting in a new bed, you're going to need a plasma cutter, some shears, and it's going to take you forever to put the new bed in. But you guys are making that easier going down the road.
Yes, we're hoping to have within the next year an entire bed kit out pretty similar to this. There'll be some options to it for the customer to choose from.
Excellent. How long will that take to install then once I get it?
We basically turn them into a kit in the shop for ourselves, and I install that in less than a day.
Oh, wow. Making it easy to make your resto mod or your classic truck build look fantastic. Everything you need is at VannattaFabrication.com. We're going to keep on trucking. We hope you join us for the ride. More Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com coming up.
Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com, coming to you from the Shade Wagon Studio.
You ever drive a golf cart or even a go-kart for that matter? You push the gas and zoom, you're off, just like that. No gear shifting and constant torque. Welcome to this AMS Oil Tech Tip. You know, cars work the same way today. These are CVTs, continuously variable transmissions, just like that golf cart or go-kart. How does it work? Well, I'm glad you asked. Check it out. We got these variators right here. And this one right here you can look at. It's all about the drive and the driven pulley. So what's going on here is this is a small area and then this is big. So we're going to multiply a massive amount of torque, and then these variators are going to change. And as they change, you can see from low gear, we go over here to high gear. And then what happens is it's infinite. It goes as it goes slowly. I start to increase, and when it backs up, I start to decrease. So here it is, high gear. You can see it's actually kicked over. This is the drive pulley, and then we're going down here to a small one, which is the driven pulley. We're getting speed, but no torque multiplication. That would be high gear. Better yet, I can show it to you right here. Here it is in action. You see it right here? These are the variators, and then there's the big band going around, and the drive and the driven in the transmission. Now, I actually took one apart for you, Len. Look at this thing. This is an actual chunk out of that CVT, so you can actually see the variators right here and the belt that goes around, and what's happening, that thing has to change. There's a massive amount of tension on here. I know you guys can't feel that. So this belt's right in here. It's got to run up and down here, and that causes a lot of problems like this here, Len.
Yeah, right. And you know, those go-karts or those golf carts we were talking about, most times that's a dry clutch. This is all immersed in fluid, so the fluid becomes a major player here in making this thing operate properly. There's no cushion here. The belt is steel. So we're steel on steel, no cushion. It all falls on the oil. So our CVT fluid has been formulated to handle that. It needs to provide a certain amount of cushion in the film strength of the oil. That comes from the base oils. But then it also has to provide some amount of grip, because you don't want this to slip. It actually has to pinch that chain and make sure that it's going to go around. So it's a very delicate balance to build the fluid tough, but it still has to provide some grip. So it's a very delicate balance. Formulary is key.
And you know, I hear a lot of people talking about, man, I might have put the wrong fluid in there. Fluid will wipe out one of these things in a heartbeat. The wrong fluid, that is. You can see the graphic. You guys got the Nissan pulley there versus the AMS oil. You would think that thing would be perfect, but no, look at that belt. You can see it's all chewed up, and the variator, it's kind of hard to see, but it's like grooves in a record. That thing starts making some massive amount of noise. Your pulley, not the case.
Right. It's about longevity. When we build these products, we look at the harshest environment possible to provide the longest service life so that customers got problem-free driving.
And it's going to do just that. Now, most vehicles, they have special needs when it comes to maintenance, especially a CVT. No worries, go to amsoil.com for the peace of mind knowing that your vehicle needs are going to be met and exceeded.
Johnny Green is our paintedautoparts.com Motorhead of the Week, and let me tell you, he is a first-class motorhead. Johnny has a whole stable of cars that he's worked on and restored through the years just for fun. And Johnny's garage is full of classics, and he says he loves every single one of them because they all have a story behind them. I asked him if he's thinking about getting any more cars, and he told me, heck no, I'm trying to quit that. He says all the time people ask him if he's going to build a bigger garage, but Johnny says he'd just have to buy more cars to fill a new garage up, and he'd fall into the same cycle once again. The collection consists mostly of Chevys, but Johnny tells me he doesn't favor any make or model over any others. It's just kind of worked out like that through the years. And oh, by the way, one of the most important vehicles in his collection, a flatbed tow truck. That's so he can haul his cars around to various shows. And it also comes in handy for hauling cars for other people too. And he says the secret to getting more jobs like that is to take care of other people's cars, just like he'd take care of his own. Good stuff, Johnny Green. You are the PaintedAutoParts.com Motorhead of the Week. You can be like Johnny. Just go to MotorheadGarage.tv and tell us why you or someone you know should be the Motorhead of the Week. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com. So keep it right here.
Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com. Industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage. And brought to you by PaintedAutoBodyParts.com, the leading U.S. auto body parts online store. VG Motors, highest rated and most reviewed load jack dealer in the United States. And by Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radio since 1977.
Thanks for joining us here at Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com. If you love classic cars like this, if you've got one, maybe you're building a new one. A lot of folks, of course, naturally do an LS swap. They drop a new modern engine in an old vehicle like that. Or maybe they just want to go to fuel injection on the old motor they have. Josh, why do folks, for the folks that may not know, why would folks want to go to fuel injection as opposed to a carburetor?
Compared to a carburetor, you're going to get a lot more consistency when it comes to cold starts. So whether the weather's hot, whether the weather's cold, whether you live in a high altitude location or low altitude, you're going to get a lot more consistency when it comes to going out to your car, turning the key, and the engine turning right over. So reliability, maybe some more control, and just moving away from mechanical to kind of a digital. We live in a digital age, so you get a lot more customizable features and stuff like that when you move to something like modern fuel injection.
So when you move to modern fuel injection, why should someone choose ACE's EFI?
A couple different things, affordability being a pretty large one that people consider when you're already looking at a pretty expensive build. You're wanting to make sure that it's done the right way, but you want to make sure that it's kept within budget, of course. So affordability is a big thing. We want to make sure that people have really quality components and products at an affordable price. We include OEM standard computer chips in all of our products, so we use automotive grade. We use better software, better architecture. We use 32-bit in all of our stuff as opposed to using 16-bit. So newer software, better processors that allow the systems to take the data they're reading and make decisions faster and fill out the fuel tables in a more accurate way.
We'll talk about tuning in a second. Now, when folks are getting an LS motor, they're usually pulling out of some vehicle, some other vehicle, and it may not come with the fuel injection system or with the control system.
Right.
So what are you getting with ACE's EFI that's basically a kit that they can put onto their engine?
Yeah, so if you're looking at doing an LS swap, like you said, that may come out of an engine that's got everything, it's all good to go, or there might be some components that are missing. So we provide several options for people depending on what they need. So you can start with just kind of a base LS kit. If you have all the components that you need, but you need something to control it and you need a new wire harness where all the connections are good and everything, it's all laid out nice and neat, you can go for a base kit that would come with like an ECU, your harness, some of your wideband O2 sensors, some weld-in bungs, a few other accessories just to kind of get you going. But maybe if you need something a little bit more than that, say you need a manifold, fuel injectors, coil, stuff like that, we have our top-end kits that would come with a fabricated welded manifold, comes with your fuel rails, your injectors, either a drive-by cable or a drive-by wire throttle body. Comes in either 500 or 800 horsepower kits, just kind of depending on what folks need. And then it will work with your stock coils, but we also have those available if you need those as well.
This sounds awfully complicated, but you gear it toward the DIY person. What's it like to install this?
So pretty simple setup, like you said, geared towards the DIY automotive enthusiast. You follow the instructions to lay out your wire harness, plug everything up. Then you go into your handheld that we provide with each of our kits. You can see all your sensor readouts, your TAC, has a GPS chip built into it if you want to have a speedometer there as well. You go into it, you go to your setup wizard, you answer anywhere from 6 to 12 questions depending on the product. Just some basic preliminary questions that it needs to know in order to start learning. So you would answer things like, what's the cubic inch? How many teeth is on the reluctor wheel? What kind of map sensor are you using? Are you doing drive-by cable? Are you doing drive-by-wire? Are you doing a manual transmission? Are you doing like a GM 4-speed, like a 4L60, 4L80? A couple other basic questions. You hit save, you turn it off for like 5 seconds so that way it can save everything. And when you turn it back on, if you're doing drive-by cable, you do one more for setting check, and then otherwise, drive-by-wire, you're good to go. You turn it on. Once the engine gets up to temperature, it will go into what's called closed loop, where it closes the circuit and it allows it to start learning. So it starts filling out those fuel tables, and then give it anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour of driving, and it will populate all the fuel tables that it needs to, and then it's good to go. You can take it back, you can park it, you can keep driving, and it will save that learn, and every time it comes back on, it'll be there ready to go.
And what if I'm having difficulty with the setup or with the installation? What resources do you have for me?
So the manual that we provide is pretty detailed. It should be everything you need, but if it's not, we have a bunch of FAQ resources online, but you can always give us a call, 423-590-ACES, and any of our technicians, even our customer service staff, are trained to answer a lot of the basic tech troubleshooting questions, but they'll be able to help you guys out and get you going.
That covers the Jackpot LS system for folks that have an LS motor. But for folks that want to keep the engine they have and want to go to fuel injection, what options do you have for them?
So something as simple as a 4150 style TBI system, a throttle body injected system. Something like that makes it easy to take the carburetor off, put it on. It has 4 100-pound-an-hour injectors in it. It still uses our 32-bit architecture, OEM standard automotive grade computer chips, and it also has a remote mounted ECU. So we keep the ECU separate from the throttle body, so that way it's not prone to hardware failure that can be caused by heat, vibration, electromagnetic interference, things like that.
Well, if you're looking to convert to fuel injection or you're looking to get the most out of your LS motor, ACESEFI.com is the place to go. Always bet on ACES. We sure do appreciate your watching Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. We'll do it again next week. We hope you join us then. So long.